Hello, Syndicate members. This is Chris. I'm sorry that I haven't been really around. I've been really busy with my other jobs, and the job goes until July 21st, I think. I'm teaching some musical theater stuff for kids, which I love to do. So, yeah, it's not gonna be a very long video, I think, but when I did the chat with Jesse, I mentioned about stacking some string sound and something like that. So it's kind of late, but yeah, I wanted to follow up with the things that I've said, and also I wanted to show you a few things that I've learned um, from my experience making orchestral music. So for this video, I made a really short music. Like as you can see, it's really, really short. So I'm hoping that this can demonstrate a few things that I wanted to share with you guys. So this is kind of like modern like orchestral music. So like kind of like drama tension music, but more like trailer-ish orchestral music. So I'm gonna play for you later. Before we do that, so as you can see, I have like five different pianos here. This is just to show you and so we can listen to like each different piano sound. And it's really important to like pick a right piano sound. So piano and strings, probably not the syndicate members, but like a lot of people think you can just choose one and just use it, like for any kinds of music. But that's really not true. And if you are a piano player or a string player, you definitely know the the personality of each like instrument, like Yamaha, Steinway, like Bosendorfer, and something like that. And strings, string libraries, they all have different personalities. I personally really prefer Cinematic Studio strings, and I think I already mentioned 1,000 times. But yeah, but even those like really good music, softwares, they have like pros and cons, and you just need to know what's good for your music and what's good for the genre of music that you're writing. So we're gonna talk about that. So I think the topic that like most of you are really interested in is like strings. So let's talk about strings first. So I wrote this viola line. So as you can see, this EW is east-west ones. So I don't really like stacking so I don't usually do that if I don't have to, but a lot of times I find it sound better with stacking. So without EW, these are just cinematic studio strings, and these are east-west Hollywood strings gold or something, that one in Composer Cloud. So yeah, let's hear it. So this is Cinematic Studio Strings viola line, spiccato. So I put a lot of reverb, as you can hear, because I wanted. So this is a really short song, but I had like kind of like a theme. So I wanted to be like, I wanted to sound like really dreamy and dark and deep and something like that. So I put a lot of like reverb. So I'll talk about this reverb later. But anyway, so the really characteristic thing for cinematic studio strings, like especially the short strings, you can hear a lot of like scratchy sound, like so it makes it really realistic. So when when you do the staccato or spiccato on the strings, there's a lot of like chick 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 sound. Yeah, that makes this library like super realistic, which I really like about. But sometimes, something like spiccato, like something like this articulation, you hear like too much like scratchy sound and something like that, you can definitely use EQ to like reduce that like frequency a little bit and boost some of the like actual melody notes. And but yeah, however, not however, um, but you, I'm not sure. I'm tired. I don't know what I'm talking about. But anyway, but let's listen to East West one. So it's totally different. You hear a lot more melody lines, and instead of just like that scratchy sound and other stuff that you know that actually you can hear when you actually play the viola. So which is good because I don't think I'm hearing enough melody lines on Cinematic Studio Strings, but I'm not hearing enough that other stuff from East West. So I can just stack those two. So if I just hear it at the same time. And sometimes it sounds better. For this, if I continue writing this music, I think I'm gonna stack them. I kind of like it. Not my like favorite, but I kind of like it. I still like Cinematic Studio Strings like too much to stack East West, but um, this is definitely not. But yeah, I like it. But the crazy part is their panning and also the frequency is like a little bit different, so you have to adjust manually to have both like string instruments to play at the same time, and it feels like, and you have to make it feel like it's coming from the same like orchestra, same like virtual orchestra, not just like oh you just recorded this first and you just added this kind of feel like you don't want that, right? So same thing for cello. Cello is like exactly same thing for as viola. You're hearing enough melody line and also kind of like that, the background like other sound, but melody kind of feel like melody's not really enough. So you add this. This is more like a melody line. I don't think, yeah, East to West is that bad, but it's just like how you recorded the sound, right? And this East West, the string library has been around like for years, like a lot, like 20 years, 30 years, I don't know, like really long time. And probably the like something like Cinematic Studio Strings, it came out like recently, and they probably have heard and studied all the different string libraries out there and like trying to they were probably trying to make it better than that, so they added like something to make it more realistic and stuff. So but anyway, if you play at the same time, it sounds fuller and kind of like it. So I think bass is also spiccato, so kind of it applies to like I don't know, same thing. So what the interesting part is, so Cinematic Studio Strings Violin 2 is kind of weak. I don't know why they couldn't make it sound better, because it's the same violin, but it's just I don't know. Violin 2 usually plays lower notes than violin 1, so I think they focus on like more on that frequency level, but it's like same violin, but it doesn't sound the same, and violin 2 sounds really bad. And also, if you have like Cinematic Studio solo strings, violin 2 is the weakest, like also. So you definitely need something better than just like this one Cinematic Studio strings. See, so even it's a really good string library, but it has it has some bad stuff too. So let's hear the difference between these two. So the color of this sound is a little bit different. So if I use them both at the same time, obviously it sounds fuller because maybe because of the volume, obviously, but they have different colors. So this one library doesn't have this color, and but the other library has that color, but that doesn't have the previous one's color. So, if you use them both, you can have them both. But sometimes you might end up not having those good like two different colors because they kind of like conflicting each other. So stacking is not always like 100% good idea, but it works. It definitely works sometimes. Violin one, the personality of Cinematic Studio Strings Violin one is that the higher you go, um, the worse it sounds. Actually. So, but actually, East West Violin 1 sounds pretty good on higher notes. So something um, like this area, this range, it sounds really harsh, and you can try to fix it with EQ, but sometimes it's not working always. Not working always. So, so a little bit like cleaner to my ear, I think. But is that more realistic? I don't think so, because string, if it goes up, it sounds harsh. That's the nature of strings, violins. But we are making music on our computers, so we can make it sound better. So why not we try that, right? So, I don't know if I have more time. I think I can try to make it sound better, but I think it still sounds better than just using one Cinematic Studio String Violin 1. So, so yeah, if I play all at the same time. Yeah, maybe these high notes, maybe you can like do some kind of like automation and just like cut the volume a little bit. And maybe you can also use the modulation and make it, yeah, it's like it could it could be like actually not go that high, maybe like around here and go down a little bit. But yeah. See, and also I did this real time. I always do this because sometimes if you just go without like adjusting modulation wheel before you record, sometimes the sound just doesn't come up. So I'm just like, yeah, it should work and start. Um, and also, yeah, this is not good. So yeah, cinematic studio strings, like if notes are overlapping like this, it triggers legato. Sometimes you really don't need it, and it doesn't sound really good uh, on this kind of sustain note thing. So yeah, but yeah, you always have to do the modulation stuff, and when you change the note, always kind of like go down, and like you always have to have this like V shape because that's the strings. It's not just piano. You're not just hitting the note. Strings it just comes in, and like it's a bow, not just like your finger just hitting the note, right? So these like small details make it sound way more realistic. Um, so yeah, and something like spiccato lines, you can't really do the modulation thing, yeah, because Cinematic Studio Strings zero modulation. This is spiccato. So you can maybe like accent like the down note, downbeat, like a little bit. So like ba 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 ba, right? Not just ba 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 ba. So you can use like velocity to do something cool. So data strings. I also have Vienna Symphony Orchestra library, but I barely use it. I don't actually use it anymore because that was around. I don't know, that's been around for a while too, and it was really popular in, I don't know, until like 5, 6 years ago. And now like everyone I know is using like Cinematic Studio Strings. So it's just a choice of color, like the sound color. And um yeah, this Vienna sounds really realistic too, but it's kind of hard to adjust. I don't know. I think yeah, just CSS is better. The Vienna is the default sound is good, but like when you use that and mix with other instruments, it just like sound not that good. So I can't really explain why that happens, but yeah, but that also happens to the ivory piano too. I'm gonna talk about that too, but so that's why people are not using ivory piano that much nowadays because you can just go with Keyscape or other piano libraries, but I still really like ivory. Before we go to piano, I'm just gonna talk about brass a little bit. So I stacked two horn sound. The first one is East-West. I still don't have Spitfire one, which I gonna buy next time. So I'm using East-West my main, and I'm also using this brass ensemble in Contact. I think this one is in Ultimate 11. So yeah, let's hear it first. So this is just East-West with a lot of reverb. So just without stacking any other brass instrument, it sounds pretty good to me, and I've been using it a lot. And what about this one? So the color is definitely different, and I feel like this horn sounds more like marching band-ish, and this one is more like cinematic horn. Not classical though. It's like more like cinematic horn. So, but this one has like that really kind of like 1 or 2K-ish frequency, like zing, kind of sound. I don't know how to explain that. Like if you hear this, yeah, that kind of sound, which I really like, and that East West doesn't have that much. So see, this is just clean horn sound, but this one has that weird horn sound. So just because of that, I always stack these two, just to get the sound. It makes the horn sound more realistic. So maybe that's just me, but that's what I've been doing. And I also have tuba and low brass at the same time. So these are just two different things, but I like using this both at the same time to have like really big boom, like low end sound, like for like the entrance of each different section or going into like big huge chorus kind of thing. And also, what's good with that is that like some pad in Omnisphere, like Big So Swell, um, with Dark Pad. These two are these two go with this like horns, low end horns, like really well, and you can make it sound way more fuller and it's like way more dramatic. So these two sound like this. So if I go with this, I personally really love this. So I always do this. And when you mix, like, you can't have all same frequency for four different instances, but yeah, you can just like work around. So custom, frequency for like different instruments, so you can have them all. Yeah, if you just like have all this four in like 100, 200-ish frequency, it's just gonna peak. So think about that. Um, I didn't EQ tuba. Wow, I'm so bad. This tells you that I had to like really rush to make this. And also, before we do that, I also added Adagio transparent string from Omnisphere to make string sound a little bit fuller. So if I solo this, you're gonna hear these string lines, but it's just a string pad. And I know a lot of people use this trick like a lot of times. So this is a really good way to make your like sustained string notes sound fuller. Yeah, it's like pretty much you always do that actually. Um, so yeah, something like, you only have like four notes playing in four bar, like one note playing in one bar, kind of like that kind of sustain. Not with spiccato strings though. Uh, well, you can't do anything with this, but yeah, really good way to make your sustain strings sound fuller. And let's talk about piano a little bit. So, nowadays the piano like softwares libraries sound really realistic, especially Ivory Piano. I haven't tried the recent one though, the Steinway B, I think. Uh, what I have is like it came out like 15 years ago, 10 years ago, Ivory 2 with American Steinway American D, which I still like. I think Steinway D is the most realistic piano sound like in history of like virtual instrument, I think. And I know that Broadway still use Ivory 2 for piano sound, compare like with the main stage. So they actually use it for live performances. But Ivory Piano is really heavy, like CPU wise, and it's kind of like not stable. So I think they are kind of going towards to Keyscape instead. But Keyscape, the most popular piano is Yamaha C7. But C7 is really bright, so sometimes it's not really good with like dramatic, dark tension music kind of thing. But the one patch in Keyscape is which is cinematic piano, I think that's still C7, but that sounds really amazing. So Keyscape has a lot of good patches and piano sounds. But generally, Yamaha C7 is really bright. Steinway D has the most like I think it's like the most balanced piano sound. And Bossendorfer is kind of like old classical music kind of sound, but it's like you can like think about I don't know. Well, I'm just gonna have you listen. um, yeah, but Steinway D is usually way to go for like general piano sound. Um, So I have this all different piano, and I also have one patch from Omnisphere, which I'm gonna play. So let's go from C7. So this is actually Cinematic Studio piano. So I don't think they captured Yamaha C7 sound pretty well though, because it's only like 69 bucks. And it's a decent piano for that price, but I don't think this is actually C7 sound. But it sounds like this. And if you hear Bossendorfer, you're gonna hear the difference. You're definitely gonna hear the difference. And this is Steinway D. It sounds a little bit super lighter here, but it's actually not. I think I EQ'd and just copied and pasted. I don't know. But if you go this low end sound, it's like really balanced. And this one is actually in ivory piano. It's a cinematic piano or something, which I'm gonna use for this song. Because I mentioned that I wanted like the dreamy sound. So what I'm missing here is kind of like low mid range. So what I did was I added this Omnisphere piano. It's an ambient piano, something something space piano. So this is kind of like electric piano. I also cut a lot of like low end because I don't need it. So if I use this both at the same time, it makes it sound really, really dreamy. So, and also, I don't think piano mixing is easy, but I kind of rushed it. But this range it always sounds really bad on piano. It's kind of like, sounds like you're hitting a can or something. So I usually cut between 2 and 500 and um, go with like this range a lot. But yeah, and I added some percussion, like Hans Zimmer percussion that I recently purchased, which is kind of amazing. These mic positions are amazing, actually, and Action Strike. So yeah, it sounds like this if I play all at the same time. It's really short. Not sure I'm gonna continue writing, but let's see. And I also added um, Clariphonic and Ozone 8 at the end. So Clariphonic is just it's just a really easy way to have like way more clarity in your music. So I really recommend that plugin. It's just amazing and it's really easy to use. Um, but it doesn't make your track sound better if your mixing is not there. So always go back to the beginning and do stuff. So yeah, guys, I just wanted to share like how I usually stack the instruments and like how I like pair different instruments for orchestral music. This is what I've been doing. I might learn something new when I make new music, and I'm gonna share that too. Um, Hope this is helpful a little bit, and I just wanted to um, say that just to just make sure that you use your ears. So try to find like better sound for your music. So I mentioned this earlier, but like strings and pianos and other instruments too. Even if you have like really good piano, brass, string instruments, you can't just like use that and play on your keyboard and like think you're done. So there's always a better way or different way to make sound even better. So always like, be open-minded and like try something new sometimes and sometimes like, even go back to the beginning and like just do it in a completely new way. So you may find something really amazing that you haven't like discovered before. So that I wanted to say. I'm gonna talk more about this piano later, so I want to make a video and homework assignment to find the right piano sound for a certain genre or something like that. So thank you guys for watching, and please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.